This is Bam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Darren Padgett. Oh, we're getting a little bit of an echo. uh, can you, do you have a way to reduce the echo? I guess it's coming from your speaker.
Let's see here. Let me just try and drop the internal volume. How about now?
Yeah, it's not coming through. That's cool. So
Okay.
I'll just start again. This is Bam Electric Ghost. We're live on the air. We're talking to Darren Padgett. You are the CEO and founder of Nectar, right? And it's also do you want me to use the old name or you want to go with Nectar?
Yeah, so I mean the new business name is Nectar, NCKTR, but the old name was DNA Business Consulting. We just made a switch of name just due to some conflict.
So right now we've got the URL for DNA Business. We do have the ability to push the Nectar up later. We'll put that up if people want to see that. But other than that, I always like to talk to people on this podcast, and this is live. What we're going to talk to is about your business, about your story. But before we get to that, we ask everybody a couple questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, that's a great question to start off with, and I love it. What motivates me is a couple different things. The number one thing is to build out a company that has a long runway for my son to be involved in, because he's got kind of like a knack for business and conceptual ability. So having something to where he has the option to be involved in it. And number two is just I've worked in the corporate world. I've worked in the small and medium-sized business space as well. And I'm not a fan of corporate. And that's the reason that we are positioning to work with small and medium-sized businesses to give them more of an ability to actually compete. And if they're not going to compete and they're going to exit, assisting them to exit the right way and get as much out of their company as possible. So that's really the motivation and driver for us to really try and help the business sector, especially the service industry, as much as possible.
I think it's real important. I can give you like a little background. Like I'm a musician, I'm a podcaster, but my day job, I'm a software designer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So I've been working in corporate America. I'm 58 since the 90s for insurance companies and banks. And now I'm working with a startup because I got kind of tired of the corporate structure and looking like the hue that we are. I ran into a lot of issues with like glass ceilings.
Yep.
So I found that the startup was willing to look at me for my ability and allow me to kind of ramp up to whatever they need.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they was like, if you're willing to put the work in, if you're willing to show what you've got, and when you put your hand up, you're not ignored. Right?
Yeah.
When you have an idea, they allow you to execute.
Yeah.
I liked that because I dealt with the other way and that really wasn't working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like if we're saying it like that, I mean, that's more of the in-depth reason as far as my son piece goes, is for him to have the ability, if he wants to go work somewhere else or work in corporate, great, he can. But if things go the way you and I have experienced, then he can, run a hard middle one to him and walk away and know that he already has legacy to like walk right into if he wants to, and work his way up within some place where he'll actually be treated based off of, effort and merit, as opposed to, other things that really should not equate or matter.
Yeah, because it's like when I was looking at your background, it's like talking about like value ethics over shortcuts.
100%.
And a lot of times, the corporate world is really interesting to me because they tell you they want out of the box thinking, then they put you in the cubicle. Right. And they tell you that they really want like you to come up with a happy accident. But when you give them the happy accident, then they say, well, it's not in the project plan. So it's like, okay.
I've heard all that BS so much, and I truly, I don't believe in hate, because hate is letting the opposition control you in a way.
Yeah.
but I truly do despise the corporate world to a degree. I think like some corporations, like they give you a good base and structure, and you got to have structure to some
Oh
degree.
yeah, like training.
But yeah, but there's a lot of terrible practices, and that kind of like leads me into another reason why we like helping smaller and medium sized companies, because of the fact like we've seen companies, and I've personally seen companies to where when they start off naturally inside their market and lane in their industry, they're looking to that big corporation, that conglomerate, right? How do they do things? How did they get to where they're at? What they're not understanding is they built themselves up by robbing Peter, not even getting introduced to Paul, and then also just poor practices all the way across the board, blurred lines everywhere, skipped processes and steps, and terrible company cultures. So they end up down the road 5-6 years in, they're mimicking those types of things without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And that's a real sad case. So that's, you know, a lot of our motivation as well is really to help people start off the right way if they're just starting out, or if they're trying to really figure out what their infrastructure and their company culture is going to be as they're trying to scale and grow into, you know, an enterprise company or a platform company. We can really set them on the right track, and it will pay way more dividends for them.
Well, it's kind of like the idea, like a franchise model versus somebody who's actually an entrepreneur. Like
Yep.
the franchise, you're just cloning like that franchise, like the burger
Yeah.
franchise, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like a guy that comes up with his own recipes, he bakes his own bread, he has his own stuff, right? He's not pulling it from some big conglomerate supply chain. That he's
Yep.
actually going out to local farmers, local bakers, whatever. He's picking very specific things.
Yep.
And when you have that customization, because customization is kind of like the key now, because now we have like assembly lines that can actually give somebody like 25 variations, or
Yeah.
how many variations, like where the old Model T thing is, it's every color they want, you know, it's as long as it's black.
Yeah. It's really how it is.
And so you got people who don't really understand, like customization is the key. Like your secret sauce is the key. If you
Being unique.
yeah, if you instead of going and trying to copy the cat video on, you know, and this, and so I got 1 billion views. So I just clone it. But what are you saying? Are you saying anything unique, or do you have something to actually give other than trying to hit the algorithm?
Yeah.
So I see so many people, like they just try to hit the algorithm. It's like, well, what did you actually give me?
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of funny, like in my journey to start creating content and like kind of giving free game and sauce, because it's okay to a point to give free game, because the real value lies in the implementation, that you're only going to really get highly efficient and effective implementation and execution from experience. So, but at least giving the right information in the right way to people is huge. And man, I've told people, to a certain degree, it's okay if you are a copycat, as long as you copy the right cat.
Yeah.
And to give an example to that is, you know, I used to work for a company that is a United States offshoot of a global enterprise. And every meeting, they always talked about, man, we're going to beat Amazon. And I always used to like just peel their eyelids back. And when I'd speak up and I'd say, you guys need to wake up, because everything that we're doing here is so ass backwards and upside down. You guys have no idea how that really plays out, because you don't want to step in their footsteps up to a certain point. And then what you should do is drop a gear, switch lanes, grab it, and go. That's what you do if you really want to catch up to somebody like that. And I would tell them all the time, Amazon has no idea who you are. They don't care who you are, because they can eat at whatever point you show up on their radar. They're going to look at how this company, they're going to look at how this company's structured, and they're going to say, we're not worried about them.
Well, either to buy you and shut you down. It's kind of like that's the method of these guys. Like the Silicon Valley guys, what they do It's
Yep.
like, if they find a software company that's like treading in their water,
Yeah.
so well, these guys got an idea, they just buy them and then they shut them down. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I have a guy that I'm personally working on trying to acquire on the West Coast market, and his company's about 30 years old, and he's only doing like 3 or 4 million in revenue, and he's just now trying to aggressively scale, but he's doing it on the sales end first, which you and I both know that's not the right way. You got to have your governances and your structure in place so you don't break the company once you
Mhm.
start bringing in more money and more accounts and things like that. What he's doing is he's kind of going back to your assembly line and uniqueness thing.
Mhm.
He's essentially, I don't even want to say essentially, what he is doing is he's undercutting the major player. So
Oh,
it's like them, and then I guess you could say it's him next, but the gap in revenue is massive.
yes, yeah.
But what he does to get large enterprise accounts, because he can be unique, is just undercutting.
Yeah.
And so it's not in the right unique way. All he's doing is undercutting massively and then never having an actual strategy and relaying it to those clients on how the price is going to continue raising over time based on value and execution. And it's just wild to me. Like 3 to 4 million over 30 years is, that's an ugly number.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think people get caught in the trap. It's like, well, I can be the low cost guy until I can't.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, when you're that person, it's so much easier for somebody brand new to jump in the pool and catch you.
Yeah.
So much easier. You got to figure it out. So I'm working on him. That's one that I'm personally working on. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
because you
that's
gotta be able to handle, like, that exponential growth, like, if all your systems can't handle if you double, triple, quadruple, then you're
nope.
not gonna be able to actually satisfy your orders.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest pain points to the service industry, right? Because with the silver tsunami happening, a lot of the baby boomers retiring out and they don't have kids to take over the business, whether they want to or not. And they don't really have a succession plan in place. A lot of what's happening is there's businesses out there up for grabs, and anybody who's doing it, anybody who is getting involved in the service industry or they're trying to scale the company, that is what they do because they're an operator or that's how they seen those guys do it. Going back
Mhm.
to the bad examples thing, is they think the way to scale is, oh, we got to get busier, we got to like run more ads, or we got to get more customers and like make more money, buy more trucks, and like burn myself out along with everybody else in the company.
Yeah, diminishing returns.
That's the worst way, because let's say you go from 2 million to 10 million, everything's going to fall apart because you don't have
But
any of
if
the
it's not
infrastructure.
sustainable.
You don't
Yeah, I
have
mean,
anything in place to sustain that. Yep.
yeah, it's just the sustainability because that happens is, like, you get the, like, key person dependency, right?
Yep.
You get multiple key person dependencies and somebody gets hit by a truck or somebody that says, like, "I'm out of here," right? And
I
then just
literally just talked to somebody that happened to. That like they were telling me about a company that they worked at that exact, almost exact method of going out happened.
yeah, that's
And
the big
and
problem.
they yeah, and they said like it was talked about before, like as far as like succession plan and having everything set up, and they were just, yeah, we're gonna get to it. I tell people all the time, like as soon as the conversation comes up or you realize that there's somebody like us brings it to your attention, do it start it that day. Like stop waiting.
Yeah,
Stop
man,
waiting.
even the big guys get caught up in that because I don't know if you know about like the Y2K and all the mainframe issues. Like from
No.
a tech perspective, like like a lot of big insurance companies and banks are stuck
No.
on old mainframes from the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah, that I know.
Right. And a lot of that code is based on languages they don't even teach anymore. Things like machine language, COBOL. So what happens is you got guys who are like, that retirement trap problem. You got
Okay.
you got guys, the only guys that know this stuff are getting ready to leave.
Really?
Or sometimes the companies look, oh, this guy's got a pension, defined pension, let's get rid of him. They get rid of him, and then they find out, oh, he's the only guy that knows how the freaking thing runs. Right? So then they try to transfer it to a young person that has no idea.
So then
Or
what
they
are
try
they
to
doing? They have to bring them back in to like
they bring him
train?
back as a consultant, pay him way more money. And then he's pretty much like lording it over them and not really giving them the keys. So what
Yeah,
happens is he only piecemeal gives them what they need and strings them out. And
that's
so
so
they're
wild.
still like in a key person dependency that's been it's been strung out. They try to give it to somebody, but it's like, why is he going to give some young kid or some guy in Mumbai? He going to really give him all the keys? Because if
Yeah,
you give him all the keys, his contract's gone. So
yeah,
he stretches it out.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a problem too that people don't identify up front. To make sure you have governances in place to alleviate or just like not even have that happen. Uh, I mean, that happens with these companies as well. And guys will think like, oh, we're doing 2 million a year, like we're doing just fine, like we don't need to get any bigger or whatever. But the problem is your costs go up and you can't continually pass all of that on to your customers.
Oh yeah, eventually
Like,
you gotta
it's
get
called
burned.
business continuity for a reason. So you've gotta price accordingly. You have to build up, you have to continue raising things the right way to be able to continue the growth model. And because then you go from 2 million to all of a sudden now it's 1.4, and then now it's a million, and it's going backwards because you're doing nothing to actually scale and grow your company the right way. But another thing I want to say is, do you know who Jocko Willink is?
Oh no, they can enlighten me. I'm not familiar.
So Jocko Willink was, I don't want to butcher this, and if happen chance he ends up hearing this, I apologize in advance. But I know he was in the Marines, I believe, and I think he was a Ranger or a SEAL or something to that effect. He was in the military, but he's like a public figure now, and he owns some companies. And he was saying on an episode of Joe Rogan like a year or so ago, I think, that he is involved with or built a company out, and they make like workwear, and like one of the things is work boots, and it's everything sourced and made in the US, I guess. And one of the things they had to do is they had to bring a bunch of guys out of retirement to come in and teach all the young guys how to make footwear. So there's so many industries that are like that. So
Yes,
it
yes,
but
yes.
I didn't realize that one there with
Yeah, in
uh,
the tech world, we get problems with people who are stuck on like Windows, and then when
oh
Microsoft goes and
man.
says, "I'm not going to support that version anymore," and you've got like whole assembly lines that the machines are based on a Windows machine, and now Microsoft doesn't support it.
Oh man, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, stuff like that happens,
Those
and it
machines
happens.
that run assembly lines. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they're machines, and sometimes a lot of times they run old operating systems that aren't supported anymore. So then you have to find like a guy who knows that. Like you have to find, and those guys will charge through the nose
That's insane.
to fix it, right? And then so the other problem we have now is people are going to say, well, I can get AI and fire 90% of my software engineers, right?
Yeah.
And then what they don't realize is the AI company charges you for
Mhm.
that service. And what once they get you,
You're
they
hooked.
will they will keep on creeping up that cost.
Yeah.
And eventually that cost will become you'll still be so tied to it and not have any of your own people that you
They're
actually won't
essentially a
be able
drug dealer.
yeah, you won't be able to afford the cost of the service.
Yeah. Yeah, they're essentially a drug dealer. They're gonna get you hooked, and you can't get away from them, like, no matter what.
So if
They're
you have your
killing
own
you, but
guys,
they're keeping you alive. They're
yeah, if you have
killing you
your
and
own
keeping you
yeah,
alive.
if you have your own guys, they can solve it. They can create it. You have your own guys who can maintain the machine.
Yeah.
If you go suddenly let any of these big software, these AI companies own it, not only do they own it, but they own your patent. And they're
Yep.
actually teaching their system on your patent. And the way
Oh,
the
really?
rules are right now is that intellectual property, there's no rules that really protect it once it gets to AI, right?
Oh, I never
AI,
thought
even
about that.
today, it reads your email. If you
Yeah.
send a document that has your secret sauce and the AI reads it, is learning on your proprietary thing. And there's no rules that say if somehow that leaks out to your competitor because they go and do a chat prompt and they find it,
There's no recourse.
There's no recourse for them stealing your patent. And this is why people need to understand, like, there needs to be a digital bill of rights for
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, because if they start owning your secret sauce, your patented services, your patented processes, and you
Yeah.
have no recourse based on the old world that you had a recourse. In this new world, they actually want to own everything. And
That's
so,
insane.
yeah, so I mean, I understand it's like, oh, it's tech. You should always support it. Like, well, I support it, and I'm a tech guy, but I got some problems with that.
Yeah, I got a problem with that now that you explained it out like that. I mean, I appreciate you explaining it out like that because, man, that's a problem.
Yeah,
That's a big problem. I'm just like going through my head right now of like how far out that spider web can go.
it can go very far because it's like, artists have been complaining, like movie
Yeah.
studios complain, like Disney complained. Like Disney started seeing some of these AI companies taking their characters and then using them and then charging for it. And it's like, it's their freaking character.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen
people
some
are,
of those videos where like I start watching, I'm like, is this a new like Disney or is this a new film?
and then,
And then
under the
find out that
old,
it's like an AI generation.
yeah. And then under the rules, previous rules is you can't take a copyrighted character and
No.
just do that without paying.
Yeah.
But now they got to catch up. Like in the music industry, if you take a sample and you don't clear it, you got to pay for it. But in arts, they don't have the same kind of system for digital rights management. And also for engineering, yeah, they have patents, but this tech is like blowing through the patents.
Man, that slope is super slippery.
Yeah, so I mean, I like tech and I use tech for what it's used, but I understand there's reasons why we have laws.
Mhm.
There's reasons why
Yeah.
people want to have ownership. And like, if you're a business guy and you got a process, right, and
Yep.
you've got a patent, if you got a secret sauce, you don't want that just being on in some chat, bot that
That's
anybody can
insane.
actually pull up.
That's insane. That's so mind blowing. Man, I never went in that direction with that thought. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had more and more of these conversations lately with business owners about, AI and everything, and it's still like a split. But last night I actually was having dinner with a couple people, and the one guy was talking about how he hasn't completed his thought on AI. He thinks that it's like 50-50, to where what it's his end belief is that it might hurt at first, but out of it, it's going to create more things.
Well,
And
yeah.
I was like the only person who didn't really chime in because I don't really work a ton with AI. I'm not saying we don't use it, but
Mhm.
in our landscape,
Oh,
using
yeah,
it
very
is
much so.
really touchy,
Yeah.
especially when you're working on like analytics and data and everything like that. You got to be real careful with it. There's got to be a ton of oversight and reviewing
Well,
of
yeah,
it.
because there's hallucinations. The
Yeah,
people have gotten,
hallucinations can for sure happen.
yeah, the
Um,
big problem is it gives you an answer that looks very believable.
yeah,
And if you don't check, I mean, lawyers, doctors, engineers have been, lawyers have gone to court citing cases that didn't exist.
like Deloitte. I don't know if you heard what happened with
Yeah, I
them.
heard that. Yeah, I heard what happened to them.
I mean, but hey, they're one of the big four, right? and here you are just letting people, or you got to take accountability as the company, but you got
Yeah,
consultants that are just running things through AI and then just delivering it to clients with zero checks.
yeah, that because it's such a time saver.
Yeah,
The question is, like, if you run a 500-page document through it, and then you assume it's good, right? Did you actually go and check it?
yeah.
You're
But
saying it's a time saver. So
that's why it's
part
not actually a time saver because you
yeah,
just
'cause then
wasted.
the assumption is that you don't have to go and look at it. And
Yeah, it's
all these
crazy.
CFOs are saying, "Oh, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do," but that's actually not the truth.
Yeah,
It
I come across quite a few screw ups. If I run something through like Perplexity or Chat GPT, um, I always I don't skip anything. I look through it and I find on a regular basis, it's not like a ton, but on a
Mhm.
regular basis, I find a couple of like screw ups to where I notice that information can't be accurate. So I'll plug it back in. I'll say you need to re-fact check this and provide more citation
Yeah.
sources for then me to make sure that those citation sources are actually accurate themselves. And then it makes sense to move forward. But yeah, just plugging stuff in and running with it is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big risk for our, that I actually think about it for our young people. If you're
Yeah.
getting trained in college, part of the training was that you went to the library, you knew the Dewey Decimal System, you had to do the research, you had to go look in those books, you had to actually do it. The act of actually doing that research
Yeah. They have
actually makes
no
you a
idea
better
what that is
researcher.
now.
Yeah, right? They make you a better researcher because you're actually looking at the real thing, right? I
Yeah.
understand the tech gives you a better capability, but you still need to know how to do it the old way.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think the people are maybe not learning the old way.
They're definitely not, because I've seen a couple of articles, in the last 6 months about how it's starting to come out, like data is starting to show that the amount of electronics use and AI use in school systems is actually degrading drastically the mental maturity and just
Yeah, critical thinking. I
growth
mean, it's really
growth
like
of these kids. Like they have no idea how to do anything. I watched a video the other day somebody sent me of a dad asking his high school son. The kid was probably like a junior or senior. I imagine probably a senior, or maybe just graduated high school even. And I think he was filling out like a job application. And the kid was like, "What do I put here?" And dad was like, "Well, what question are you answering?" And he said, what's my address?" He's like, "What's the address?"
he
And he
just
was like, "Well, what is an address?"
he didn't know what the
The
address.
dad was like, "Where do you live?" And he was like, "What do you mean, where do I live?" And his dad was like, "Yeah, like what is the number to the house and what's the street we live on?" And he was like, "I don't know." He's like, "I just know how to get home."
Yeah,
And
it
it
actually,
like just kept going down the application. It went on for a few minutes. I had to cut the video off because I was irritated. I was like, "There's no way this kid is that dim." And
but it
it's
can happen.
because he relies fully on AI, like short attention span. He's
Yeah, they're
only looking at
losing their
reels.
memory capacity. Like the memory capacity, like people would know their social security number. They may even know their driver's license. My child in the 70s, so you would know stuff.
Yeah,
Some of your key information, you would know it, right? But
yeah,
now today, people say, "Well, I can just I can just chat it up." And like, there's some stuff you need to learn how to. Part of the tradition of like learning is to
yeah.
build that memory capacity along with critical thinking.
It's crucial. It's crucial. I tell people all the time, and I tell my son this all the time. Growth is rooted in like being uncomfortable. Like you're not going to grow. You're not going to learn anything. You're not going to truly learn anything, especially to the core of whatever it is, if you're not uncomfortable during that process.
Yeah,
Like I have so many different passwords, card numbers, like all kinds of things that I have to remember. The other day I went someplace and I walked out of the house and didn't grab my wallet, but I have all my cards in my Apple Wallet, right?
mhm.
They didn't take tap. So the lady was like, "Oh, well, you can just tell me your card number." And I rattled it right off. I rattled all the
So you
information
knew
off.
it.
She's like, "How do you remember your actual card number?" And I was like, "I have probably like 12 cards in my wallet." And she was like, "And you know them all?" I was like, "I know them all." I was like, "I know the expiration date. I know the CVV
Yeah,
codes."
you're doing that old 70s, 80s thing.
You have to, and like honestly, it was a better time. Like
Yeah,
you learned way more things, and like we have way more tangible skills. I tell people all the time. I grew up rural, very very rural, and now like living in a more urban area. I can tell you right now, like it's night and day
yeah.
compared.
Well, you lose like some of that, like handyman type of stuff and just common sense. 'Cause
Yeah,
my mom was from Morgantown, West Virginia, and my pop was from Springfield, Massachusetts.
that's wild. My grandma was from Morgantown.
Yeah, so my grandpa was a coal miner, and he built his own house. He had a little farm, and so he knew how to do plumbing, he knew how to do electricity. He never even finished high school. He was a
Yeah.
miner. but the minor, he's like self-reliant,
Yep.
could teach himself, could play the banjo, never went to music school. He just had all these talents. He had 8
Mhm.
kids, and everybody learned something. Everybody became very successful, and they really didn't have like they weren't handed down. They didn't have a trust fund, all that stuff. It is hard work and ingenuity, being able to figure stuff out.
Talk about your uniqueness, but then resilience, like to the max degree.
Yeah, I think it's real important, and we get people that don't kind of dive into like every day, like you said, if you're going to progress, you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
like David Bowie had this great statement. He said, as an artist, I do not grow unless I'm treading water a little bit. Like
Yep.
the reason he went into so many different variations is because he would go and work with Luther Vandross. And he knew Luther could sing better than him. And he
Yeah.
actually would work with people that could sing better, play better, different ideas than him. He just didn't reinforce what he knew. He would
Yep.
go into places where he wasn't the expert and push himself. And that's
Yeah.
hard to do if you're scared, if you're trying to have safety, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like how do you go about that? Like as far as like kind of continuing to challenge yourself? Because I love to continue to challenge myself.
I try to put myself into different for my career, I bounced from multiple sectors, from like healthcare, banking, property casualty. I worked at some companies in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I lived in Japan for 2 years. I kind of tried to
Really?
push myself in the industry. Yeah, I lived in Japan for 2 years, working for a big insurance company that moved an office there, and then I had to work with the Japanese business mindset compared to the U.S. mindset, and it was culturally very interesting
I
because the
bet you.
Japanese
I bet you
had a very
majorly
different
different.
idea of how to do business than Americans.
I bet. Yeah. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. Like to give an example, if the Japanese insurance company put out a bad statement or made a mistake, they would go and book a convention center, invite the customers, and then the CEO would apologize to the customers.
Oh, I love that.
The American company said, "Well, what's the big deal?"
Yeah. They don't care. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like
So
because for them, it's so ass backwards. This goes back to fucking corporate America, and the corporate America is structured exactly like the US government, right? And it's like the way that they diagnose or the way that they do their analysis is kind of like, oh, well, only 2 million people were affected. Nah, we can just move along with it. Like it doesn't make sense to address it. And that's how companies do it, Instead of addressing something right at the get-go, I've literally sat in boardrooms where I've said this has been noted. It might be one person, it might be two people. Address it now. It's less resources, less time, less effort, less money wasted
mhm.
on just this one or two people or this one little small issue. But if you let this go, this has a real potential of festering and growing and becoming a multi-thousand-dollar issue or $100,000+ issue. And then what do you know? All of a sudden it festers. And now you went from one person being disgruntled and like not showing up to work and stealing things to now all of a sudden there's 20 people that you've identified that are doing the same things. So the negativity, it festered and it infected and it grew. And now you have a way bigger issue because now you have turnover, you have hiring, you have the shrink, you have all these different things that have come out of something that you could have just easily dealt with. And instead you thought it didn't make sense to turn attention and any amount of time to it.
Yeah, I
I've
think
seen
it's
it
yeah.
multiple times.
I think a lot of times what also happens is like one thing in Japan I noticed is like from the floor like to the top. If you're in a manufacturing situation like in Japan, they will let the people on the floor on the assembly line actually give the engineers like advice saying, "Hey, we
Really?
think that you could do this better," right? In America, in some cases, right, if you do that, the engineer said, "Well, you're not an engineer."
Yeah, they
So
look at you like, "Who are
you
you, peasant?"
so you said you can't even do that. But the reason we kind of see what happened in the 70s and 80s, where the actuaries decided for the automobile industry that you could have acceptable like defects, where the
Yeah.
Japanese have a zero defect mindset. So then you had like Datsun, Toyota, and all those companies were like just killing us because the quality of the cars was like unbelievable. In the late 70s, our cars had all these defects, right? And so suddenly, they just took the market. They just
Yeah.
blew us out because we didn't pay attention to like, well, maybe that's acceptable to the actuaries, but it's not acceptable to the customer.
Yeah. Like how about the gas tank explosions with the what was it, the
The
Pintos?
Pintos. Yeah, the Pintos.
Yeah.
They actually calculated that that was acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a problem because they do that with everything. They would say, well, this product might like injure people. They'll calculate the cost and say, well, that cost that's acceptable. We can handle it.
It's just
It's like
so ass
so
backwards.
it's like knowing that that happens is like so that's where you have to draw the line and start saying, well, where's your sense of morality? Where's
Mhm.
your sense of like common sense?
Yeah.
Right, and then just so it's like, are you just gonna calculate everything based on profit, or are you
Yep.
gonna have other values,
Yeah.
like ethics? Do you have
Yeah.
any ethics at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing, you know. I mean that's one of the ways that I've like from I guess like outside of that direct niche of like private equity. That's one thing that even just being an outsider and like wanting to start building relationships with private equity firms for their acquisitions within the service industry, that it's noticeable to an outsider. And the things that I notice is they'll just look at financials with some of these acquisitions. Oh, the financials look great. I know you know that it's not that hard for like a $2 million company to fluff EBITDA and make themselves look way more attractive
Better than they are.
to cook books.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that hard. Like it's very easy. And instead, you're just looking at financials only and oh, this looks great. Yeah, we're gonna acquire or we're gonna open up negotiations and we're gonna try and get them. Having no clue of the organizational structure, having no clue of the culture, having no clue how anything operates and runs, and then also sometimes not even having any real clue about that industry and how to even inject cash into it and maximize it for the scale that you want. You're just going to throw enough into it that something will stick. That's the mindset. Something's going to stick. It'll grow. As long as it grows upward X amount, we're good. And then we're going to roll it. We're going to roll it up, turn around, sell it. That's insane. It's
Mhm.
literally just like a never ending cycle.
Also, there's the other piece, like with manufacturers, is sometimes they go in and they pull like pieces out of the company
Yep.
and then shut it down, right? So they'll basically take pieces and sell them off, and then just write it off, take loans against it, and write it off, and then let it kind of like actually go in and kind of disrupt the whole thing and like blow it out, like
Yeah.
destroy it instead of actually making it better. They actually disrupt it or dismantle it and eat the
So
pieces.
yeah. So you know why that is so grotesquely horrible. So yeah, I said earlier how I grew up extremely rural. The town that I grew up in, there were multiple factories that were responsible for things that went all over the world. Multiple. Today there's one. And it's
Mhm.
for that reason right there. They'd get pieced out, sell stuff off, and then now look what you left in the wake. You turned a town that in the mid late 90s had 30 plus thousand people to now today it's less than 10,000.
Mhm. Yeah, they basically just decided that, they look at the global marketplace and say, "We can make that cheaper over here."
Yep.
Right? So they move it and they disrupt it. And the thing is, like, it also comes back to my whole thing with some of these, I don't know, these, like, corporate, like, tech bros.
Yeah.
They got this idea that they can go and automate everything and take the workers out of everything.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Right. They think they can take the blue collar, take the middle, take the white collar, take them all out,
Yeah.
automate everything. Well, who's gonna have the like Henry Ford used to say, my worker needs the money to actually buy my car.
Hmm.
These guys are saying, well, we don't have any workers, so who's gonna buy the car?
Well, you want to know where they're getting their thought process, and like I'm not gonna say like that I don't like him, and I'm not gonna say that I like him, but they're getting this from like people like Elon,
Mhm.
who says stuff like there should be universal base high income.
Where's that coming from? When have they ever shown that they're actually
Exactly.
gonna do that? Because
Exactly.
I would make the argument that if you look at, like, the internet mail systems we have today,
Hmm.
like, the I won't say the name of the company, right? But there's, like, the companies that give you the free mail, right?
Yeah.
The companies that let you do like, free internet search.
Yep.
They make money off of your personal information.
Yep.
They make money off the choices you make on the net. Like, in
Hmm.
the EU, they're starting to say, "You gotta pay the consumer."
Yep.
These people say they're gonna give universal income, have had 30, 40 years to give us a universal income, and they've never done it.
Hmm.
So why would they ever do it now? They have
I
not
know, right?
shown that they did it ever, right? And I don't believe I think that's a con job.
Even the way that he broke it down and explained it when I listened to him talking about it on an episode of Joe Rogan, like a while back, a few months ago, I think it was, I was just like, this won't actually work. It's like building out a super team. Like what was it? The 2022 Browns or the
Mhm.
2021 Browns. On paper, they looked insane, but you don't play the game on paper. And
Yeah,
then look what happened. They finished the season with like 4 or 5 wins. That's an ugly team. You didn't
yeah.
even make the playoffs. You didn't even make the wild card. Like,
I don't see these billionaires sharing that spread.
no,
They have not shown any interest in doing that, because if they
no.
actually wanted to do that, they would pay their fair share in taxes.
Yeah. The
If
only
they
way they'll
actually
do
they
that
they
is if
would
you
actually
partake.
pay for the road that goes to their facility. They would pay for the bridge. They would,
Yeah.
help build a power plant to power their thing, right? They used to do that, like the old
Yeah.
robber barons back in the day. They would build a bridge, they build a water system, they build a road, they would do the improvements, they'd actually give money to charities, they would fund the arts, they would do all that. Now these guys say, "I'll just buy another super yacht. I'll just buy like a little bungalow in some Hawaii and build it like a bunker." You know, I'll do all this stuff like that, but I don't see them actually doing what they used to do. So that's kind of where it is. You still there? Did you
Yeah, I'm
freeze?
still here. Hey,
Yeah,
you cut out for a second, but yeah,
yeah,
you're back. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I
I'm
don't
just
see
saying
it.
that. Yeah, I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, no, I don't see it at all. I don't know. It's just it's a wild time, and I've caught myself saying a few times lately to different people, like, man, I miss the mid 90s. Mid 90s was like the
I miss
real,
the
like the
80s. I
last
miss the 80s.
real, it was like the last real time where like some things made sense. And I don't mean it in the essence of
Like
it's
everything
because we
else.
had less information. We were not privy to a lot of the bullshit going on in the background.
Yeah,
I think it was a better time because there was stuff like, you get into it with somebody, you punch them in the mouth, it's over, it's done with, you don't have to like each other after that, but after that, you can still get along if you needed to. Just different stuff. Water was better quality. Just so many different things. It was just an easier time, but now it's and stuff like what you just said. You had some companies, you had more companies than now that would do things like that, as they should. I mean, you should prop up and you should assist. I don't think you should take full responsibility, but you should definitely assist the town that you have like your headquarters or your operations or your manufacturing plants in. Like the area that I grew up in, that I've said it a couple times already. There was another thing when they wanted to start expanding. This will tell you how inept the people who like ran that city at that time were and still are. Um, instead of, because the town was already so small and you're trying to grow, what they did was they gave 10-year tax breaks to develop a part of the town. And it developed, but then that 10 years ran out real quick. And then guess what? Those companies stopped maintaining the buildings run down. They don't really care because they're not getting tax breaks anymore.
So you
Like worst case scenario, we'll pull out.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's the problem. As soon as they have to pay, then they pull out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's literally what's going on right now. Like, I almost refuse to go back there just because of the fact that last time I was back there, there's more closed buildings and businesses than there are open.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no mall anymore.
It's total disruption. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane, but it's like you thought you were so smart and so business savvy just because, you bootlicked your way into a position in local government. And then this is what you did. You gave 10-year tax breaks when it should have been like a 2-year tax break.
Yeah.
And then you should have more requirements on the back end for them to actually maintain like the area that they occupy, and also do like a small percentage, even if it's a percent of earnings, back into the actual city, so then they can help the city grow. And then that in turn gives them more business over time.
You think about like the Carnegies, and you think about like,
a lot about those people.
But I'm just saying what they used to do is, they had their own bad habits, but they did believe in the actual idea of America, and that they actually did contribute to the structure, and they had other things that weren't so great. But my point is, like, a lot of times people today, they just have the idea is like all taxes are bad, like all paying fees are bad, all regulations are bad. But my point is, okay, like you get to the point where some of these guys would say, well, you should pay for the fire department. Like, it's like if you have a fire, they want a private fire department. Now, how does that make sense? Right? Like, there's some things that don't make sense private, right? They want to privatize the post office. So, okay, the post office, it works because like there are rural communities that if you privatize the post office, they won't deliver the mail to that rural area. These guys don't get past this. Well, we're just going to charge people. So then you're going to make the people with the least amount of money charge the most, where the old system was thinking about the whole community of America. And let's do something like the post office that's going to help all Americans. Instead of saying, let's go do something that's going to help a few Americans to make a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah. It's wild times, man. It's wild.
It's gone to the point where like people just think you should just make the maximum profit and there's no sense of community.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, look at car dealerships over COVID, shot themselves in both feet and both kneecaps. Yeah. And with everything that's going on right now with oil and gas, it's trending towards they're going to have to make that decision again. And are they going to be so stupid enough? And I believe that they will, because there's not very many smart people at any of the dealerships across the country, at any position within those dealerships. I worked in the car industry. I'm extremely jaded and irritated with them and the way that they do business and screw people over on a depreciating, object. But it's trending in the direction to where if it goes another like 60 days, it's going to happen again, to where they're going to come to those crossroads and have to make that decision. Are we going to absolutely just jack the prices up on all these vehicles and screw people again for another 6 years and like increase repos, voluntary and involuntary repos? Are we going to screw everything up again? Or are what we going to do is lower the prices, so then that way we can continue to move volume and then still have turn-ins that are like trade-ins that are in good condition in 3 years if things are like leveled back out or back on the up.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't, you're gonna like everything that gets traded in 5 years is gonna be
destroyed.
Pieces of crap. And then look, now you have nothing to turn back out in as far as trade-ins.
Well, you get the whole generation now where my daughter's like, she has no interest in a car. She's just using rideshare. Like her generation says, like, why am I going to go buy that? Wait, I can just use a rideshare. And there's a whole generation the same. The cars are just out of my league. Like the houses are out of their league. cars are out of the league. You're making it so unaffordable.
Yeah.
It's like you're not gonna until and then we're gonna get burned when like a Chinese company like a BYD comes
Mhm.
in and has a $20,000 car, right? And
Hey,
then they come
those
in
cars are nice.
and if they start bringing in the low cost version and the Chinese, they'll dump it. I mean, they'll dump low cost things in to just take the market.
Yep.
So they'll come in with a very low cost, like, equivalent of an Escort or a little, like, Chevy, little tiny, like what we used to have, like these starter
Yeah.
cars, like a pit, like a Plymouth, you know.
Yeah. Malibus, yeah,
Now it was like
Corollas.
start. Now you have car like Ford said, I would not. They're even making passenger cars. They're not even making like compacts. They just gave up that market and said, "Oh, we'll make a truck and SUVs."
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean,
really?
they're a terrible company anyways.
But it's like the idea is like it's like you guys don't realize that somebody's going to come in and they're just going to take the whole freaking market.
Oh yeah, you're gonna just take it like not even from underneath you or like in the middle of the night. They're gonna look you straight in your face and take it in broad daylight. Yeah. I mean, those cars are nice too. The technology is better, it's more reliable, it's more resilient over time. Like everything. The mechanicals are better as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the door is wide open for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I would
yeah. I
not be
mean, that's
surprised if that
found that
happened.
it's that, and then we're like, oh, what happened to Detroit?
Oh my gosh. Such a ridiculous situation. Such a ridiculous situation. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if that happened. I mean, just a lot of things like if you, so I had the I can't say who, I definitely can't say who, but I had the ability, somebody that I know that's in the car industry. I was able to listen in on a three-way call that they had with two different loan officers at two different banks, and they both were like the amount the both those women, they were both female loan officers, and they were like the amount of voluntary repos
It's like out of control,
is
right?
insane. Have you seen any of the views, like an aerial like drone shot of not general what we know repo lots, overflow repo lots? I'm talking about like 3-4 football field size
Yeah, I've been seeing the numbers
full
where
of
people
cars.
they can't afford cars. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the result.
the one lady said on the call that she has so many people that have like like mid 700 credit scores. They're doing voluntary repos, like, hey, come pick the car up because they have two or three cars that they have $1,000, $1,400 payments on. Where they're just like, we're just gonna get rid of one or two of them. So,
Yeah,
hey, come pick this up, take it. And the problem is the ones that are not voluntary, the people that know when, like, okay, my car's getting repoed, I got like 30 days, they beat the crap out of
out
those
of the
cars.
car. Yeah, so
Yeah,
then
they treat it, they treat it like absolute garbage. So then, like, you go to an auction and you go to get it, and guess what? Now you got a car that's like the equivalent of a lemon. Like, car's 2 years old or a year old, and it's got all these problems because they spent the last 30 days putting 15,000 miles on it and just like off-roading everywhere
yeah, it's
and just
blind.
slamming into
It's
stuff.
out.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
insane, man.
yeah, I mean, it's gotten to a point where, you know that whole idea about affordability, but it's like the fact is, like, if you don't make it so the middle class can succeed, after World War II, we had the idea, the GI Bill, that, people were gonna go and they could go get a house in the suburbs. They could maybe have a boat,
Yep.
maybe have like a snowmobile, they have
On
skis,
a $40,000 salary.
yeah, they could go. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and people had boats on their driveway. They had snowmobiles. I live in the Northeast. So they had stuff. Now people, they can't even go on vacation.
I know. I know.
It's like, so something's going on. It's like if you just make it all top heavy, that's fine. But eventually, like you said, the volume is really the thing. So if you got 400 million people in the country and they can't afford to actually create like commerce, and you're letting the top 10, 15% create all the transactions, like eventually that's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, the legs are gonna go out from under it. Yeah, volume is the model for almost every industry. Just based off just like there's more to it, but just if you were just only to consider the amount of people that are out there that are consumers. And in every industry I've been in that has any aspect of sales, I always train people. The first thing that I tell people, is I say, you are a consumer first thing every morning. Before you clock in, before you go to work, before you put your uniform on, before you put your work clothes on, you're a consumer first. You need to remember that when you're talking with people, and especially for owners. That's how you're going to survive longer, especially now. That's how you're going to survive longer, is if you don't go with the status quo and you ride the storm, you go against the grain, and you go the volume route with realistically affordable prices for a larger volume of people. You'll do just fine. Like any dealerships through COVID, if the rare few that held onto their prices didn't blow them up and just stayed true, they're the ones that are still doing okay right now. Like they're doing just fine. They're moving units left and right, not having any issues. They're not burying people in payments, and they're
I
not
think
out of
people,
inventory.
that's when you go, like if you go to the grocery market, are you going to go to the high end market that charges you an extra $3 for a loaf of bread because it's fancy?
Yeah,
Right? Are you going to pay extra for that can of beans because it's
absolutely not.
fancy? Like why are you doing that? Right? Most people
Yeah,
are going to go to the grocery store that has the really good quality and the low price, unless you're
yeah.
just trying to show off. If you want to be a show off and you say I spent $50 for this piece of meat, okay, fine, you did. It's like that's you.
That is a real problem though with some people, is like, they know they're broke, they know they can't afford it, but they just are so stuck to the clout thing where they can't be embarrassed. And it's like, caring about what somebody who doesn't breathe for you, do your dishes, mow your lawn, like pay your bills, caring about what somebody that doesn't do those things is true insanity. Like I could care less what somebody who doesn't do those things for me thinks about
Mhm.
me. You should never care. I mean, yeah, it's just I don't know, it's wild times. I mean, yeah, the volume is the best thing for almost every business model. Uh going that high cost route is a dangerous game, and the value's also got to be there. That's another issue that we have across the board in multiple different products and services. The value's just not there.
Yeah.
Value's just not there.
Yeah, well, you get something, it's like a prestige, high price, like, so then there was a point where, there's a brand and they're charging like 100,000 for something that's probably worth like 40,000.
Yeah.
And eventually somebody's going to try to sell that and no
Hmm.
one's going to pay the 100.
Yeah. No.
So then it's like, oh, I just got myself in all this debt and I'm still paying for the next 7 years for something that really only worth $40,000.
If that, yeah, yeah, it's funny too because it goes the same for land as well, right? Like, and I get the age old adage if they're not making any more of it. Yeah, that's very true. I fully agree. But at the same time, you can't tell me that this acre in, let's just say, like Arkansas in 2018 was 2 grand. Now it's worth 35. Where did you get all of that value? Because nothing's been done to the land. There's nothing that came closer as far as infrastructure that gives a little bit of value. The intrinsic value to that land is still 2 grand. You can get away with maybe 5 grand of inflation for that. So
Mhm.
I'll give you 7 grand for it. And that's what, like, I have a good realtor that I work with in like purchasing stuff, and like she believes the same, and even the stuff that she doesn't agree with me on, she already knows my viewpoint, and
Mhm.
she won't bring it to me, or either she'll bring it to me because of the fact that she's like, all right, this makes sense to actually like talk with the people and like maybe submit an offer on it. But I'm
Yeah,
just like, I don't
that's
care
smart.
what you think it's worth. And this is another thing that, talking to business owners, I look at, I had this conversation last night at dinner with the same guy. I said, no, I said, if you're selling your business and let's say you value it at $20 million, are you the one buying your business? He's like, no. And I said, okay, awesome. I'm sitting across from the table from you in negotiations. Do I have the money? He's like, yeah. I said, and if I tell you that it's worth, that I want to give you 13 million for your business, what are you going to say? He's like, I probably wouldn't take it. I said, I wouldn't take it either if I were you, but the right mindset is to figure out why I don't think it's worth 20 million. Either go back and fix it, like hire somebody like us, fill the gaps, shore things up, polish it, and make it worth that 20 or more,
Hmm.
or bite down and take the 13 because you can't force somebody and you can't hold hope because that never plays out well
Yeah.
to think somebody's going to be dumb enough to give you that extra 7 million when that value is not there. You got to
Yeah.
make it there, you know? So, I mean, yeah, yeah, I tell her all the time, I'm like, yeah, they can price it. I'm not mad at you putting the price on it. Not mad at you whatsoever. I don't have anything against you. Throw it out there because there might be a moron that's dumb enough to pay it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why
Yeah,
you negotiate. Like it's a negotiation. I mean, if people
yeah,
just go and pay whatever the sticker price is, it's like well, I that's if you're trying to do it for clout, like
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
maybe that's what you want to do. But like if you're trying to make business sense, that's not
Yeah,
what you're gonna do.
yeah, but you got to put facts behind it, right? You got to put facts behind like why your offer is your offer too. Like you don't want to be like a scumbag lowballer. You know, it's like here's why this is my number.
Yeah, you
So
don't want
we
to be
do
some
have
guy
a
just trying to eat it
tangible.
up for the lowest price and just forcing people down. Because
Yeah, I
yeah,
never do that. You
yeah,
can't do that. You can't do that anywhere. That's just insane because that's disrespectful on just like a human, just a human to
human
human.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well, I
yeah,
think
that's
yeah, that's
insane.
cool. I think we have a great conversation. We already hit the hour. It always goes by quicker than we ever imagined.
It
Uh,
did.
we we do have your URL for the DNA Business Co. You are saying they're going to change that. It's going to end up being this one. So we
Yep.
put that out here. But for now, we actually have this one, and we have our QR code mapped to the DNA Business Co. right now.
Yep.
Um, so we can update that when that becomes available for your audience. When we push this out on our promotion campaign, we'll do some shorts and some reels on social media, and when we figure out which QR code is active, then we'll push that one. But I want to
Perfect.
thank you for being on here today.
Man, I appreciate you. It was a great conversation. It was one of the best ones I've had in a while.
Well, we like to have that kind of real conversation. It's like a radio interview back in the day.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to do it. I'm like a jazz musician, so I like to do fusion.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
What
so fusion
instrument
is
do you
kind of
play?
just I play behind me. I'm a synthesis, so I'm a keyboardist.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I play piano. I play like synths, like old. Like I'm a like I said, I'm a '70s guy. So I grew
Yeah.
up with like Funkadelic, Sun Ra, Stevie Wonder,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. The good stuff. The good stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. My son plays guitar. He's doing
Oh,
guitar
cool.
lessons.
That's cool. But I appreciate people actually learning the instrument because so many people are in the box. DJ, like a DJ
Yeah.
is cool, but
Yep.
if you actually play a bass or a trumpet or a sax or keys, it's like, okay,
You got a little bit more value.
you got a little more going on.
Yeah, you got a little bit more value because that can only go so far. Like when you need that instrument, and that DJ probably might not know how to play that instrument. So,
They know what works. Like they're good at picking tunes. So they're
mhm,
good like engineers or producers. But then
yeah,
when they try to call themselves musicians, I'm like, a musician actually plays an instrument.
yeah, right, yeah. That's
So
funny.
all right, but I'll let that go. That'll probably make people like in this day and age also, oh, they're really okay. Okay, I won't go there. But okay, I want to thank you again for being here today. And
Yeah. No,
we'll
I
probably
thank
talk to
you.
you
I
again in the
appreciate
future
it.
because if you want to push another thing, people come back 6 months, a year later if they got another thing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. It could revisit like a couple of these things or whatever. I mean, one of the things that's actually about to go on is I'm doing webinars, and our first webinar is going to be the first week of May. So
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, and that's going to be a good one. That's got a ton of value. I've been working on that for like 3 months, so it's going to be a ton of very pointed value that
That's
will
cool.
truly move the needle for people. So yeah,
Well, that's awesome. I will keep on going with your business. I love talking to people have their own vision, and I like to give folks some exposure out here. So thank you for being on the show. We appreciate it, and have a great night.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.